They gained the respect of the coaches and the communities and led the way to recognize Stark County's best of the best. And we find it only fitting that Jim Johnson's son, Mike, he's here tonight with us, and we want him to come up and tell us a little bit about his dad, and then he's going to present this year's Jim Johnson Award winner. So, Mike, come on up here, please.
All right, I got some. Is it working?
Yeah.
All right, we got some trusty notes here. I'll try to not refer to them too much. Last time I think I was here was 1989. Lions MVP, and my dad got to introduce me, and in typical Jim Johnson fashion, you wouldn't have known that I was his kid. So it was just very straight-laced, straight-faced, I should say. And but that was, I kind of speaks to his character, and I think it's kind of unique that the Jim Johnson Award is the Sportsmanship Award. Because to me, I mean, largely it's about, to me, it's character. And I think, I guess this is my impression of my own father, but I think what I feel is also what a lot of people that got to know him over the years also felt. So I'm just going to knock out a couple things. I won't take too long because I know you guys want to go watch the Browns Steelers here. Real quick, I want to mention a couple things, what it was like to be his kid growing up. So the kids always wanted to stay at my house growing up because then on the weekends, we either had our run of Fawcett Stadium or we had a run of Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. We basically got to go wherever we wanted because every weekend when he had a game, that basically meant we got to go to the games. Probably 8, 9, 10, 11, up through 15 years old, every time he had a game, coaches know this, he would do like a pregame interview. So as I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, Tom McDaniels, who actually I student taught for 30 years ago, I would see him down on the field with my dad. I would meet Mike Currents. I would meet Lee Owens. I would meet Jeff Durbin, Keith Wakefield, Lowell Kleinfelder. But these were guys that, to my dad, they were, I guess, the epitome of what a good man was. And it's probably not by mistake that I got into the profession that he's so respected. Not a guy that was ever going to do the radio thing, but I knew without a shadow of a doubt, the men that he respected. Coaches, teachers. He always stressed to me, too, when it was a guy that was a coach that was also a teacher. He was just so impressed by that. I had some unique opportunities growing up. If there was ever a state championship game involving a Stark County team, it meant that I got to get out of school from Alliance, and I got to give props to my Alliance Aviators out there. I'm still an Aviator at heart. I love to see how the Aviators are doing. But he would pull me out of school, State Street Middle School, 1984. I got to get out of school to go watch McKinley play state basketball tournament. 1981, I'm watching McKinley play Cincinnati Moeller at the Akron Rubber Bowl. I was there for the Hoover State Championship game. I was there for this St. Thomas Aquinas State Championship game. Had some other unique opportunities. Every year that Chris Spielman was at Ohio State, my dad would take me down to a couple games, and we would always get to, we would meet Sonny Spielman right outside the locker room, and Sonny would take me in, and I would always get to see Chris. And he'd always say, how are those Aviators doing? At this point, I was like a middle schooler, but I would always tell him, hey, we're doing great, we're doing great. Probably one of the most unique opportunities I had. Some of you maybe know this, maybe you don't. For 4 years, my dad had the opportunity to do 20 games a year for the Cleveland Cavaliers. For my 21st birthday, he had the unique opportunity. He said, they're flying commercial, they're not flying private. We're going to basically be on the airplane with the Cavs. We're going to go to the, from the airport to the hotel with the Cavs because we're going to get there to the arena before, any of the people come in. So I tell my buddies, dude, I'm going to be courtside. I'm going to be at the game. Watch. And so we go to the game, and nobody's really in the gymnasium yet. There's a couple Cavs shooting down at the one end. And I start walking around. He goes to do his little pre-game interviews. And as he's walking around, I kind of go down towards the one end of the court, up out of Old Chicago Stadium coming up out of the basement locker room, there's a dude wearing nothing but Carolina blue. I like to tell people I rebounded for Michael Jordan, but that's not quite the way it went down. So I kind of go over to the corner, and there's got like a young guy rebounded for him, and so he shoots this errant shot, and it kind of skims over to me, and I throw the ball to Michael, and he goes, hey, thanks, what's your name? I said, my name's Mike. He said, that's my name too. So I kind of knew that. So long story short, it was awesome. I grew up thinking of high school sports and Stark County sports as the best thing going. I was an Aviator, but really I got to like a lot of guys. High school, I wore number 24 for Gary Grant when I played basketball. Number 36 I wore in high school for Chris Spielman. Absolutely. And I was a diehard, at times Bulldog fan, at times Tiger fan. Because I was from Alliance, I could kind of get away with that. And my dad would be going to those games, but it was kind of a unique position to be in. But as I come back now thinking of like what makes this, I guess, appropriate to call it the Sportsmanship Award, I watched my dad grind. I watched my dad work. He was a hard worker. And I like to think that certain qualities I got from him, and I would tell you this, certain qualities he would beat my butt in. He would be up at 4 a.m. doing that morning radio show. Fridays, Saturday nights, he would be out covering those games, getting home late, and I would be with him a lot. I can flat out remember, he would sit around a dining room table with giant poster boards, and he would draw these lines to put the names of all the guys that were inducted for this, nominated for this award right here. And I would help him put that together. My mother would help him put that together. It was a family thing, and we knew that it mattered to him so much, so we did our best to kind of like help him with that. Next thing I wanted to lead into beyond the hard work was the way he felt about coaches is the way I feel coaches felt about him. To this day, I still have coaches that will say things to me like, there was stuff I'd tell your dad that I wouldn't tell other media personalities. There was stuff I would tell your dad that I wouldn't necessarily say to other people. But I think because of the respect that he showed them, I think he got some of that back. He would sit down with guys. He interviewed every high school football coach every week. You know, and the guys that are in here, a lot of them would know. He would call up, he'd get a sound bite, and then throughout the week, you would hear clips all week long of the different coaches. He would, in many cases, drive to those schools to physically sit down with those guys. Did this with Larry Karras and Ken Wabel at Mount Union. Did it with Coach McDaniels. I know did it with Coach Currents and the guys over at Massillon. But he would constantly be out on the move interviewing these guys, just working his butt off. But when there was a kid hurt on that team, and if it was nowadays social media, that kind of stuff leaks. You know, you might be going into a big game. You got a kid that maybe he got in trouble. Maybe he got hurt. If you told my dad, it was never going anywhere. And for that, the coaches loved him because they knew that they could say something to Jim Johnson. It wasn't going to be a gotcha moment. It wasn't going to be something that got leaked. And for that, I truly feel that coaches appreciated him, respected him, but it was a two-way street. Okay, two more things here, and then I'll kind of move on with our award. He was in a unique position that when he worked for the Cavs, he did maybe have a couple possible other opportunities that he could have done some like NBA stuff. Stark County, ultimately, it was home. He liked high school sports. I will tell you this, he wasn't a big fan of the personalities of professional athletes. He appreciated high school sports because he felt that it was pure. He felt that kids were in it for the right reasons. He felt the men that were behind it and the women that were behind it were in it for the right reasons. The community support was outstanding. Saw a little clip from Kirk Cousins the other day, and he was talking about playing in front of tens of thousands of people. He said, there's nothing like playing in front of your hometown on your high school football field. He goes, nothing compares to that. And unless you're a guy that maybe has that rare opportunity to go to an Ohio State, to go to a Michigan, go to the big time where they've already got that built-in fan base. I played at Mount Union. I was a guy. You know, I wasn't like a stud. I was a good football player, but I was not some stud. Even at Mount Union, who's winning national titles, it isn't the same feel. Yeah, there are fans there, but it's a lot of the parents. But you're not getting that support from that campus, from that community like you get in your hometown. I've been teaching at North Canton for the last 21 years, and it's awesome to be at North Canton, to be at Massillon, to be at Glen Oak, to be at Louisville. But the sense of community that comes through, that's the part that he loved. And that's the part that I think is the biggest reason why he chose to not go someplace like a New Jersey, not go someplace like a Seattle, where I know he had some of those opportunities. I will say, end with this. I thought he was the best at what he did. And I'm not just saying that because I was his kid. He had a fantastic radio voice. He was a tremendous play-by-play guy. When he had that 4 years that he worked for the Cavs, Gordon Gund, who was the blind owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, basically said, you know what, I really like that new Jim Johnson guy we had doing the games. He can make me see the game. And I think to him that was like the ultimate, I guess, compliment. He was not a guy that was ever going to gloat. He was not a guy that was ever going to tell you that he was really that good. He worked his butt off, and he was proud of it, and he probably wouldn't say it much. But when I would score occasionally in high school, if I was lucky enough to get a touchdown, he would always tell me, act like you've been there before. And that's kind of the way he acted. He had a lot of success, and you wouldn't necessarily know it if you didn't know who he was. One of the things I will say here at the end is that when I consider, I guess, what made it unique, Stark County sports was always important. It's always been important. I like to think that my dad kind of helped to elevate it. When he was on the radio, sometimes it was like that must-watch TV. This was pre-social media. You tuned in to listen to WHBC. You read the Canton Repository. I know there are so many other streams of information now that things are a little bit different. But if you were that kid, and Jim Johnson was doing your game on Friday night, and the night before he was covering Michael Jordan, kind of made you feel like you'd made it. And so those are the things that I think are important that need to stick around and why Stark County is such a great place. So when I talk about the pride I felt going into all those stadiums, I know he felt it, and I know that's why he stuck around, because ultimately I know that to him that felt like home. All right, so we are going to get to the award that it took me so long to get to. So I'm going to read to you here what I was given, and we will find out who the winner of this award is. This year's winner is described by his coach as by far one of the most dedicated, selfless student athletes he's ever been associated with. And the coach says he's been that way since he was a freshman. He has suffered through many setbacks, but never let it get him down. He never let it take away support for his teammates. He was their motivational leader. Unfortunately, he was injured in the first game this season. The injury was worse than first thought. He continued to help the team by coaching them up at practice, bringing them water during games, always encouraging them. All the while, he was working out and doing rehab in hopes that he could return. And come back he did. He was not only the team's emotional leader, as always. In the final week, he saw the opponent had a running back who had huge numbers, but he decided he would be the difference in that game. Not that guy. He ran for 430 yards on 27 carries with 5 touchdowns, and he did it for his team. As nominated by Coach John DeMarco, this year's Jim Johnson Sportsmanship Award winner is Parker Kraft of Northwest.
Parker, come on up here after this photo, say a few words.
All I can tell you is this is great. I'm not sure I deserve this award for playing the game I love, but I'm truly thankful to be up here today. I tried to treat this game and all those parts of it with respect for my coaches and my parents had taught me from a young age. I can only hope that I've been able to represent what Jim Johnson stood for and will continue to honor him as I move forward. I always took the game seriously, but I always did my best to just have fun. Talking crap or taking things too seriously were never me. I just wanted to have fun. Although my senior season was cut short, I still had a blast. The last cheer, the last whistle, and all the memories out there on the field will never be forgotten. I didn't know Jim Johnson, but I can imagine he'd tell me to respect the game of life, work, and others, and you'll be rewarded for it. So if this qualifies me for this award, I humbly accept it. Thank you to my coaches for having such a heavy influence in my life, and also my parents for always being there for me and allowing me to do the thing I love most.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Parker. Well earned. And how about a nice round of applause for Mike, talking about his father, Jim Johnson. Mike, great job. Great stories. And we are all trying to carry on what your dad was so good at. And, you know, we athletes talk about 40 time and arm strength and all that. As a broadcaster, those pipes, that voice, so recognizable, so jealous, but honored to be working at the same station that he worked at. So thank you for being here tonight. All right, time now for our